Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the subject of alleged hysterical levels of racism in Britain, and particularly in England, in the 1960s, or indeed before the late 1990s. Now, Britain wasn't like the United States. There wasn't a slavery thing, and there wasn't a large or prominent sort of 10 to 12, 13% of the population being black. There weren't the inner city ghettos and things like that you found in the United States, or not in the same way, sort of racially based. So Britain was nothing like the United States. So the idea of looking back on this time, 1950s, and they like to wave around the Windrush sort of moment and say on from there it was this absolute cesspool of wicked, evil, white supremacist, fascist, Nazi racism. That's all bullshit, total bullshit. But let's sort of have a look at a couple of examples of this. Now, there was a singer who's still around, by the way. There was a singer back in the late 50s and 60s and has had a long career called Shirley Bassey. Now, Shirley Bassey has got I think it was a white mother and a black or primarily black, I think 75% black or something, father. And she was born in an area of Wales and still had sort of a Welsh accent. But she had a great voice and sang many famous songs, the James Bond sort of Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever and many other songs and she had an absolutely fantastic voice. Now, there were very few blacks in England at the time. If there was even a couple of thousand, that would have been it in the whole of England, or a few thousand, and they would have all been concentrated pretty much in London. Bassey came from what was a seaport area called Tiger Bay, where sometimes seamen from the ships would stop over, and so you'd have some non-white people sort of there. But anyway, now Shirley's family and people around her realised she had a great voice, and so she went in a few sort of singing competitions that were held in pubs and so on, and holiday resorts around the place, and her voice as good as that's going to stand out, and she got a recording contract at a very young age, 15 or 16 years old. She was performing alongside white acts that were far more experienced, had been around for much longer. She was getting billing with some of the big names of the day. And so if there had been the sort of racial prejudice that the activists and the lying activists rather, and a lot of our political and media class like to suggest or claim existed then this young black girl wouldn't have had a chance, not a chance, good voice or not. But no, her good voice, not her colour, not her race, her good voice was recognised, and she had a great voice. So her good voice is recognised, and she, as I say, got recording contracts and was out doing concerts with some quite big names of the time. So now on top of that, just to sort of add to it, this wasn't that she was just a musical commodity. And you can say, well, hey, she's a musical commodity. She was making money for white people, so that's the only reason that they no. She, so some men believed her to be quite attractive. So she had a long line of suitors, men wanting to date her and to marry her, and they were all white, and all were quite well to do, and they all had many options of dating white girls if they wanted, but they chose her. Now, all her marriages, and she had a number of marriages, a number of longer-term relationships that none of which seemed to work out so well, but they were all with white people. So I think there might have been one quarter black guy in there, but everyone else was white, and again, reasonably well-to-do, well-known white people who could have pretty much had any woman they wanted, but they chose to date and to marry her. So if there was this wicked, evil, fascist, right-wing, Nazi, white supremacist racism going on, then Shirley Bassey certainly didn't notice it. She did very well. She got plum jobs, plum gigs, plum positions in, or plum places rather, in concerts, great recording contracts. I mean, you can't do a whole lot better than getting offered not one but two James Bond theme song to your credit. So she was very well thought of and very successful, and did it on talent. She had a great voice and had a great stage presence. So she's able to do that. But this idea that there was this universal racism keeping black people down is bullshit, absolute bullshit. Now, if she'd had a lousy voice or a piss poor stage presence, and started to scream, oh, no one's giving me a recording contract or something like that, then I'm sure there are people around. It must be because of racism. But turns out she had great talent. It was recognised immediately. She was 15 years old or so, was recognised, and she got recording contracts and concert places almost straight away. There was no racism, or certainly not as it's depicted by the propaganda globalist activists today. You've been with Tassos today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.